Okay, so today's PLC, we're gonna look at next week, what we're planning for next week. What are you guys going, or what topic are you guys going to hit, or genre, I should say?
Poetry.
Okay, so y'all are gonna do poetry. So I wanted to kind of start off by creating a KWL chart, so we know what the students are supposed to already know about poetry, what things they will, or what they need to know, sorry, and then what they're going to be learning about. So what our focus is going to be. So, Miss Morales, do you want to do us a favor?
Yes. Oh, we're doing that right now. Yes.
Yes. So we already set it up for us. So, if we're talking about what the kids should already know, what do you guys think that would be?
I mean, in reality, they should already know figurative language.
Okay, so they should know figurative language.
I think the main vocabulary of poetry. So what a line is, what a stanza is.
The poetry elements.
Mhm.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Was there anything else that kids should already know?
How to label their poem.
Okay.
Marking up their text.
Marking up. Okay. And this is a review session. This is something that the kids have already learned the first time you guys hit poetry, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So if that's all we have for that, then we can move on to the W. So what do they need to know in order to be successful in this lesson that we're gonna hit? What is our focus?
I think focusing, I know figurative language is under no, but focusing on specific types of figurative language that they might have.
So where do you guys see that the students struggle? What type of figurative language?
Just like understanding and making inference. I don't think it's necessarily the figurative language, it's how to apply their knowledge to the text.
So kind of like the meaning behind
the concept, like applying the concept to the text.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what else do you guys think they need to know in order to be successful with poetry?
I know they can do it with narrative type text, but being able to analyze the plot and the plot coaster in a poem, I feel like is more challenging than it is in a narrative.
Like in a narrative poem, you mean?
So analyze the narrative elements.
Like story elements,
Yeah.
like knowing the actual plot.
Mm-hmm.
Is it on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. So are those two things going to be what our main your main focus is for this next week?
Yes.
Okay. So then for the L, how do we want them to learn this?
I think we can practice with close readings.
Close readings, okay. I think that'll be a good strategy, especially getting them used to rereading passages.
What about partner? What is that called? Partner reading or partner share? Like when
Like turning and talk.
no, like when they read as partners, and then they have to analyze it together and talk about their understanding. Share partner,
Like pair
reading.
reading. Mm-hmm.
Is that what it is?
I would, yeah, I think so.
Okay, that sounds good. Pair
No. Oh yes. Okay. Yes.
reading. I mean, independent practice.
Mm-hmm. I would agree, because ultimately, in the end, we are wanting them to do this independently.
So maybe during the lesson part have a shared reading that we all do together, and then within their paired reading that they're doing with a partner, give them something on their level to practice which
Independently.
concept we worked on that day.
Okay.
Now, how are we going to measure their success? Do we
That's-
want to do a formative?
Yes, I think I think you guys should do a formative, and I also think we should create daily exit tickets. That way, we're looking at their progress day by day versus waiting till Friday to say like, oh, half of them didn't even understand it. That way, if we see that they're not getting it, we can change up our instruction to better hit those students. So maybe we can talk a little bit more about that in a second.
Oh, yes.
About the exit. Okay. All right. So based on these, you did mention that we could do close reading as a group
Mhm.
activity. Okay. So close reading as a group activity. The paired reading would be independently when they're working as a group, right?
Yes,
So like
yeah.
let's say on Monday you would do, so Monday would be when they're doing paired, and then the next day would be when they're doing independent.
Mhm.
Or
So going like back and forth, so we can see them working with a partner to understand the
Okay.
story elements and inferences, and then the next day on their own, seeing if they have it on their own.
Okay, I think that'll be a good idea. All right, and then do you guys have any insight of what some misconceptions might be for the students, things that they might struggle in?
Analyzing story elements, like I can see them having a hard time understanding that not only do we look at story elements in a fiction text, but we also look at them in other genres aside from
Mhm.
nonfiction.
And then how
Yeah.
do you guys plan on making sure that misconception is fixed?
I think when we can have them, because we're hitting fiction text this week, so if we're talking about story elements and analyzing them, well, next week when we have them analyze the story elements of a poem, then we can say, okay, well, let's look back at the text from last week. How are these two texts the same? And should we read the same way we read this text as to the one we did last week? And then their answers should pretty much be, yes, we do. We should be looking for the same.
And I think that's great because you're not only comparing similar genres, but you're comparing fiction to poetry. They have to make that connection that they have similar elements.
Yes.
Depending on the poem, of course. But yeah, very good. All right, and then what are we thinking we could do for Mondays? Let's just say after that paired reading, what could we do for their exit ticket to measure if they did successfully meet the goal for the day?
On Monday with their partner.
Mhm.
I think if we give them, obviously they'll have their own separate poem. Maybe give them one or two questions, checking to see if they, one, got the answer correct, and two, if they justified that answer. So they would need 2 check marks.
Yes, and I think it's really important that you said that second part because we do need to make sure that they're doing their best to go back and provide that evidence for them. Very good. All right, well, I think we have a plan, and we'll go ahead and try this out and then kind of meet again to see if any adjustments need to be made or if we need to add any additional activities for our higher level students.
Perfect.
Sounds good?
Thank you.
Thank you.